The galaxy was at peace. For centuries, the alien colony of Zorith had flourished, nestled in a distant corner of the universe. This peaceful world, known for its stunning landscapes and advanced civilization, was on the brink of joining a grand galactic alliance, a coalition of peaceful, cooperative planets, united by a shared vision of prosperity. Zorithians had long since embraced peace, eschewing war in favor of diplomacy and scientific progress. Their people were known for their wisdom, technology, and commitment to unity across the stars. But peace, as it often does, came to an end in a heartbeat. The warning came too late. A dark shadow appeared on the edge of Zorith's horizon, a fleet of sleek, black warships, invisible to all but the most advanced scanners. Cloaked in advanced technology, they emerged from the depths of space like a storm, silently encircling the once serene world. These were the Vorikans, a race so advanced and ruthless that their very name sent chills through the hearts of any who heard it. They were conquerors, known for their endless hunger for power, and their arrival marked the beginning of a nightmare no one had been prepared for. Zorith had never known a threat like this. For millennia, the colony had been untouched by war, living in harmony with its neighboring planets. The Zorithians were kind, peaceful beings, always striving to maintain their culture and knowledge, seeking to share their wisdom with others. But now, with their city-sized ships circling above, the Vorikans made it clear that the Zorithians were no longer safe. They weren't just invaders, they were predators, and Zorith was their prey. The Zorithian leaders gathered in their ancient council chambers, their faces grim and hollow. Desperation filled their voices as they communicated with every surviving vessel, every space station, and every ally across the galaxy. "Please, help us," the leader of the council, Joran, pleaded into the comlink, his voice shaky yet resolute. "We are under attack by the Vorican Empire. Our world is lost. We ask for aid from any who can hear us. Please, help us." But the cold silence that followed only deepened the dread in their hearts. For hours, there was no response. The Vorikans had already begun their assault. Beams of energy lanced down from their warships, tearing into the Zorithian cities with brutal precision. The sounds of explosions echoed through the streets. Entire districts of their capital were engulfed in flames, leaving only smoldering ruins in their wake. Zorith, once a symbol of peace and progress, was now a war zone. As the bombardment continued, the Zorithian leaders sent their final plea, a message that would be their last hope. They sent the signal out across the stars, broadcasting it to the deepest reaches of space. "Please, save us." The distress call was received far across the galaxy, but there was one planet that would answer. One world far from the reach of the Zorithians' knowledge, a planet known for its resilience, its ability to survive against all odds. The planet Earth. The response came as a surprise. Zorith had no allies in this part of the galaxy, but someone was listening. On the edge of space, beyond any expected reach, a lone warship emerged. The ship was unlike anything the Zorithians had ever seen before. It was sleek, with an angular design and an imposing presence. Its hull was a deep metallic gray, reflecting the vast emptiness of space. It was cloaked, nearly invisible, with the same advanced technology the Vorikans used, only with one key difference. This ship was human. The Resolute, the name of this mysterious vessel, moved through the cosmos with purpose and speed, emerging from the shadows of space like a predator tracking its prey. The Zorithians watched in disbelief as this ship, unlike anything they had ever imagined, took position above their planet. The Vorikans, who had assumed the galaxy would fall easily before them, did not even register the Resolute's presence at first. But soon, the human warship's engines ignited, and it moved toward the Vorikan fleet. The Vorikans weren't used to surprises. They had never encountered a force that could challenge them, especially one so small and seemingly insignificant. A species that had only recently joined the galactic community. A species they had dismissed as primitive, barely able to defend itself. let alone fight back against a technologically superior empire. But there it was. The Resolute was no mere ship. The Zorithians, too, were stunned. A species so young in the galactic timeline, yet here they were, boldly challenging a fleet of warships that had torn apart every enemy they had ever faced. How could this be? How could humans, with their relatively young and untested technology, possibly hope to stop the Vorkans? It was clear that the Vorkans had underestimated the humans. As the Resolute appeared on the scene, cloaked and armed with weapons and technology beyond anything Zorith had ever encountered, the alien leaders could not help but feel a spark of hope. Could this ship be their salvation? On board the Resolute, Captain Elias Carter stood at the helm. His sharp eyes scanned the vast battlefield unfolding before him. He was calm, his focus unwavering as he gave orders to his crew. Humanity's reputation had not yet been written in the stars, but Captain Carter and his crew were about to change that forever. The Vorkans had made one grave mistake. They had underestimated the humans. Captain Carter knew the risks. The odds were stacked against them. One ship against a fleet, a single vessel against an empire. But humanity had survived worse. The Resolute had been designed with cutting-edge technology, advanced cloaking devices, AI-driven systems, and weaponry that could outmatch any known force in the galaxy. And now, the time had come for humanity to prove its worth. The Zorithians, watching from their war-torn world, held their breath. This human warship, this single ship, had appeared as if out of nowhere, and it was preparing to take on a fleet that had destroyed civilizations before. But the Zorithians didn't know if they could rely on this unexpected ally. Was it really possible that one ship could stop the Vorkan Empire? The first shots were fired. The Resolute unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that tore through the Vorkan ships, their shields flickering as they struggled to defend themselves. The Vorkans retaliated, but the Resolute was already gone, cloaked once more, darting around the battlefield with incredible speed. The battle was only just beginning. The Zorithians couldn't believe their eyes. The humans, these so-called underdogs, were holding their ground. Was this the key to their survival? The question hung in the air as the first stage of the battle began. Could one human warship really stop the Vorkan Empire? Or was this just a temporary reprieve, a fleeting moment of hope before the inevitable fall? The Resolute was their last hope, and as the battle raged on, the Zorithians clung to the faintest whisper of hope that humanity would deliver them from the darkness of the Vorkan invasion. The dark silence of space was suddenly pierced by the appearance of a new force. The Resolute, a sleek warship of human design, emerged from the shadows, cutting through the cold expanse of the galaxy. It was cloaked in darkness, almost invisible against the backdrop of stars. Its silhouette was menacing, a quiet predator that seemed to defy the odds stacked against it. The ship's sharp angles and futuristic design were unlike anything the Vorkan Empire had ever encountered. On board the Resolute, the AI system known as Raven was hard at work. With lightning speed, it calculated the odds of success, analyzing the Vorkan fleet and preparing the ship's weapon systems. Raven was no ordinary AI. It was an advanced combat intelligence, designed to make real-time decisions and adapt strategies as the battle unfolded. The calculations flashed across the ship's control panels, detailing the Vorkan fleet's movements, their weaknesses, and potential countermeasures. It was a high-stakes game, and Raven was ready to play. The Vorkans were first to react. The sensors on their ships detected the faintest disturbance in the space around them, the faint ripple of energy that indicated a cloaked ship. They'd wasted no time. The command was given, and the Vorkan fleet opened fire with a barrage of energy weapons, powerful beams of light that streaked across the black void. The sky above Zorith, already filled with the devastating sounds of war, now crackled with the energy of an incoming onslaught. But the Resolute was ready. The human warship moved with a speed and precision that defied belief. Raven's AI quickly analyzed the trajectory of each energy beam, calculating the exact angle and speed. The Resolute darted and weaved, evading every shot, cloaking and uncloaking with expert timing. It was a ballet of technology and skill, each movement fluid, each decision decisive. The Vorikans were taken aback. They had never faced such an elusive enemy before. On the surface of Zoreth, the Zorethian leaders watched in awe as the Resolute danced around the Vorikan weapons with deadly grace. It was as if they were witnessing a miracle. How could this one human warship, small in comparison to the vast Vorikan fleet, hold its ground against such overwhelming force? The Zorethians had lost all hope before the humans arrived, but now they saw something extraordinary. The tide of the battle had shifted, even if only for a moment. Captain Elias Carter stood at the helm of the Resolute, his expression a mask of determination. His crew, all experienced soldiers and engineers, were working in perfect unison, their hands flying over control panels as they executed the complex tactics laid out by Raven's calculations. But it wasn't just the AI doing the work. It was Carter's leadership and the unshakable resolve of his crew that made this possible. The Vorikans had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. "Prepare counterstrike," Carter ordered. His voice was calm but commanding, echoing throughout the ship. The crew responded immediately, their movements synchronized as they began launching missiles and preparing laser beams. The Resolute was not just evading, now it was fighting back. The first salvo of missiles streaked through space, leaving a trail of fire as they honed in on their targets. The Vorikan ships, stunned by the sudden shift in tactics, scrambled to defend themselves. But they were too slow. The missiles exploded with devastating force, tearing through the shields of the Vorikan ships and sending them spiraling out of control. One by one, their warships were disabled, their once formidable weapons now useless in the face of humanity's firepower. The Vorikans retaliated, launching their own weapons in a desperate bid to regain control. But the Resolute was already moving. The ship darted through the chaos, narrowly dodging energy blasts that lit up the sky. Raven's eye was calculating every move, every second of the battle. Carter issued orders with precision, commanding his crew to launch drones that swarmed the Vorikan ships like a cloud of angry hornets. The drones darted between the enemy vessels, disarming them, disabling their weapons, and causing massive damage. Each Vorikan ship that fell was a victory, a testament to the power of human technology and ingenuity. The battle had reached a fever pitch. The Vorikans, accustomed to overwhelming force, were now in chaos. Their ships were falling one after another, disintegrating under the might of the Resolute's weapons. They had never faced such a force. Humans, considered a relatively primitive species by the galactic standards, were now making the most advanced empire in the galaxy reconsider everything it thought it knew about warfare. From Zoreth's surface, the Zorethian leaders could see the destruction unfolding in space. Their eyes were wide with disbelief. The Resolute was tearing through the Vorikan fleet, one ship at a time. What had once seemed impossible was now happening before their eyes. The Vorikans were not invincible. Humanity was fighting back with everything it had, and the tide of battle was turning. As the human warship continued its relentless assault, Carter's voice came over the comms. "Keep up the pressure," he said, his tone unwavering. "We're not just fighting for Zoreth. We're fighting for every planet, every colony, and every species that the Vorikans want to destroy. We won't stop until we've taken down every last one of them." The crew of the Resolute worked in perfect harmony, their focus unbroken. Each laser strike, each missile fired, was another step closer to victory. The Vorikan ships, once a symbol of fear and power, were now reduced to scattered debris. The sight was staggering, a testament to the power of human resolve and technology. But the battle was far from over. The Vorikans, though reeling, were not going down without a fight. Their flagship, the largest and most heavily armed ship in their fleet, began to move toward the Resolute. It was a final, desperate act, a last attempt to crush the human warship once and for all. The Vorikan flagship's weapons powered up, its massive energy cannons charging as it aimed at the Resolute. The crew of the Resolute held their breath as the flagship closed in. This was it, the final showdown. Carter had one chance to make this count. If they failed here, everything they had fought for would be lost. As the last of his ammunition ran dry, Bonner fought hand-to-hand, taking down as many Vorkans as he could. But there were too many of them. Finally, in a final act of bravery, Bonner detonated an explosive device, taking down a significant portion of the enemy forces with him. His sacrifice gave his team the chance they needed to escape, but it also cost him his life. Before he fell, Bonner recorded a final message, a message for his family back on Earth. I hope you know I died fighting for something worth more than any war or battle. I fought for humanity, for the future, and for you. Remember me as a man who never gave up, no matter the odds. The message was brief, but it was enough. Bonner's sacrifice struck a deep emotional chord with his fellow soldiers. His death became a symbol of human resilience and determination. The crew of the Resolute would carry his memory with them for the rest of the fight, and they would honor his sacrifice by continuing to resist the Vorkan Empire with everything they had. Back on Earth, Bonner's family watched the news of the battle. They had no idea what was happening, but they knew one thing. Lieutenant Bonner had died a hero, and that knowledge would stay with them forever. The Vorkans, in their arrogance, had underestimated humanity. They had believed that the humans would fold under pressure, that their resistance would be crushed by the might of the Vorkan Empire. But they were wrong. The humans were not like other species. They were tenacious, resourceful, and unwilling to give up in the face of impossible odds. As the Resolute continued to fight back against the Vorkan forces, the crew demonstrated time and again the strength of humanity. Even though they were outnumbered, they used strategy, advanced technology, and teamwork to level the playing field. They had learned from the mistakes of the past, and now they were fighting back with everything they had. The Vorkans, watching from their flagship, laughed at the humans. They believed that the resistance was futile. The humans, they thought, were nothing more than an inconvenience. But with each passing moment, the Vorkans began to realize that the humans were far more than that. The Resolute was not backing down, and neither were the soldiers aboard it. The battle was far from over, but the humans had proven something critical. They were not weak. They were not afraid. And most importantly, they would never surrender. The Vorkan Empire had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and now they were paying the price. As the human soldiers fought on, the crew of the Resolute continued to press their advantage. With each Vorkan ship that was destroyed, with each enemy soldier that was brought down, the humans grew more determined. They knew that they were the underdogs, but they also knew that being the underdog didn't mean they couldn't win. And so, the battle raged on. The Vorkans, who had once believed themselves invincible, were now fighting for their survival. They had come to conquer, but they were now faced with the undeniable truth that humanity, against all odds, was a force to be reckoned with. The battle above Zoreth had reached its most intense point. The Vorkan fleet, in its arrogance, continued to launch wave after wave of assault against the Resolute. The immense pressure of the battle weighed heavily on the crew, but they pushed forward, knowing that they were humanity's last hope. The stakes had never been higher. In the midst of the chaos, a massive Vorkan dreadnought, one of the largest and most powerful warships in their fleet, locked its sights on Zoreth. It was a terrifying sight. Its massive weapon, capable of obliterating entire cities, aimed at the peaceful alien colony below. The dreadnought's main cannon hummed to life, ready to unleash its destructive power on the helpless world. The tension was unbearable. The Zorethians, watching from below, could only watch in horror as the dreadnought's cannon began to glow ominously, preparing to fire. The beam would be devastating. Zoreth would be reduced to nothing but ash if it hit. There was no time to waste. The Resolute had to act, and fast. Captain Elias Carter, standing at the helm of the Resolute, knew that they were outmatched in firepower. The Vorkan's dreadnought was more powerful than their ship, but humanity had one advantage: innovation and the will to fight. With a steady hand, Captain Carter ordered the crew to prepare for the final counterstrike. "Prepare the orbital bombardment," he commanded. The Resolute's advanced AI system, Raven, processed the data in milliseconds, calculating the perfect trajectory for their ultimate weapon. The ship's cloaking device flickered briefly before disappearing entirely into the darkness of space. In that moment, the Resolute appeared as if it had become a ghost, slipping through the cracks of space-time. Unnoticed by the Vorkan fleet, the human warship had made itself invisible once again, a mere shadow in the vastness of space. But just as the dreadnought's cannon charged up, the Resolute reappeared, right above the massive warship, cloaking disengage. In a stunning maneuver, the Resolute unleashed its orbital bombardment, a hail of missiles and laser beams that descended upon the Vorkan dreadnought. The first blast hit its target, sending shockwaves through space as the warship's outer defenses were shredded. The explosions were blinding, sending debris flying in every direction. The Zorathians, who had been watching in despair, now found themselves witnesses to an unexpected spectacle of hope. As the Resolute's missiles tore through the dreadnought's hull, the battle suddenly felt like a war that could be won. Bright flashes illuminated the dark expanse of space as the Resolute expertly dodged a second barrage of incoming fire from the Vorkan fleet. Its cloaking device flickered back into place, and the ship darted through the void, evading the deadly attacks with precision. It was as if the Resolute was dancing in space, a deadly waltz that only the most advanced AI could have calculated. Its movements were a blur, avoiding each attack while retaliating with deadly countermeasures. From the Zorathian planet's surface, the inhabitants could only watch in awe as the Resolute rained down destruction upon the Vorkans. The once imposing enemy fleet, which had seemed invincible just hours ago, was now on the back foot. The Vorkans had underestimated humanity's capacity for combat, and now they were paying the price. On board the Resolute, the crew was fully engaged in the fight. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation, but there was no room for error. Lieutenant Bonner's sacrifice had not been in vain. The crew pushed forward, motivated by the memory of their fallen comrade. Every attack, every maneuver, every shot fired was a tribute to Bonner's bravery. Meanwhile, the Vorkan commandos, who had boarded the Resolute earlier, continued to clash with the human soldiers in the tight corridors of the ship. The battle in the corridors was fierce, with laser swords clashing and AI-driven drones swarming the enemy forces. The commandos had expected an easy fight, but they were met with relentless resistance from the humans. Each Vorkan soldier that fell was a testament to humanity's will to survive, to fight against all odds. As the battle escalated, the Resolute's crew moved to the final phase of the assault. The Vorkan flagship, still floating above Zoreth, was the last remaining obstacle between humanity's victory and defeat. Captain Carter knew that if they could take down the flagship's power core, the entire fleet would crumble. But time was running out, and the enemy was regrouping, preparing for one last desperate stand. With a steely resolve, Captain Carter ordered the Resolute to make its final push. The ship's AI calculated the optimal angle, and the crew prepared to fire the final missile, a missile designed specifically to pierce the flagship's defenses and target its power core. Fire! Captain Carter's voice was filled with authority as he issued the command. The missile streaked through space, a trail of light in its wake. It moved with blinding speed, and as it closed in on the Vorkan flagship, the alien vessel's crew scrambled to defend themselves. But it was too late. The missile hit its mark with devastating precision, piercing the flagship's hull and striking the heart of its power core. The explosion that followed was cataclysmic. A brilliant flash filled the sky above Zoreth as the Vorkan flagship erupted in a massive fireball. The shockwave sent debris and fragments of the warship scattering into space, the remnants of the once mighty vessel now drifting helplessly in the void. The remaining Vorkan fleet, seeing their flagship destroyed, fell into disarray. They had been defeated. The Resolute continued to weave through the debris, its crew working tirelessly to mop up the remaining Vorkan forces. The human warship had delivered the final blow, and the Vorkan fleet was no more. On Zoreth, the inhabitants cheered as the skies cleared, the threat that had loomed over them for so long finally gone. The once powerful Vorkan Empire, so sure of its victory, had been defeated by humanity. It was a stunning turn of events, a victory that no one had expected. The crew of the Resolute, exhausted but victorious, looked out over the battlefield. They had done it. Against all odds, they had saved the Zorethian colony, and in doing so, they had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the Vorkans had learned that lesson the hard way. As the Resolute made its way back to Earth, the crew knew that this battle had only been the beginning. The Vorkan Empire had been shattered, but there were other threats in the galaxy, other challenges waiting to be faced. But for now, humanity could rest, knowing that they had shown the galaxy what they were capable of. And as the Resolute vanished into the distance, the people of Zoreth knew that they owed their survival to the bravery and resilience of the human soldiers who had come to their rescue. Humanity had stood against the might of a powerful alien empire, and they had emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same again. The final embers of battle slowly faded, and the once feared Vorkan fleet lay in ruins. The Zorethians, who had been trembling in fear only hours earlier, now found themselves free from the terror that had threatened to obliterate their home. The skies above their planet, once filled with the ominous shadows of warships, were now peaceful, save for the lingering remnants of destroyed alien ships drifting through space. The battle had been won, but the victory came at a heavy cost. The Resolute's crew, standing on the bridge, could hear the distant cheers of the Zorethian people, their voices carrying through the communications system. The Zorethians had reason to celebrate. They had been saved from certain destruction, their home planet spared from the Vorkan menace. Yet, amid the victory celebrations, there was an undeniable weight that hung in the air. The loss of Lieutenant Bonner, one of their own, was a painful reminder that the cost of war was high, no matter the outcome. Captain Elias Carter stood at the helm of the Resolute, his face set in a somber expression. The glow of the battle's aftermath reflected off the glass in front of him, but it did little to lift the heaviness in his heart. Bonner's sacrifice still haunted him. He had been a good soldier, a dedicated member of the crew, and his loss left a void that could never truly be filled. As the Resolute prepared to depart from Zoreth, a Zorethian representative arrived on the bridge. Lyara, the leader of the Zorethians, had come to express her gratitude personally. She was a graceful figure, her green skin shimmering in the soft light of the ship, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and admiration. Her people had been spared, but it was clear that she understood the gravity of the situation. The battle may have been won, but it had been humanity's sacrifice that had tipped the scales in their favor. Lyra approached Captain Carter with respect, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. "Captain, words cannot express the gratitude we feel. You and your crew have saved our people. We will never forget what you have done for us." Captain Carter stood tall, his gaze steady but distant. "We didn't do it alone," he replied. "We fought alongside each other. Humanity knows the price of sacrifice, Lyra. We've been facing death on our own world for centuries. We fight to protect those we care about. And that's what we did here. It's just who we are." Lyra's eyes softened as she listened to his words. "You are unlike any species we've encountered. The courage you show in the face of insurmountable odds, it is something that we, too, have learned to respect. The galaxy will remember what humanity has done here today." The words hit Captain Carter harder than he had expected. He had always known that humanity had a fierce will to survive, but to hear it from the Zorethian leader, to know that their victory had become a symbol of something greater than just survival, it made the weight of Bonner's death feel even heavier. Bonner had given his life for a cause greater than himself, and now the whole galaxy would remember that sacrifice. As the conversation continued, Lyra's gratitude turned to something deeper, a mutual understanding between two species who had fought together to protect a world. The Zorethians, who had once viewed humanity with skepticism, now saw them in a new light. No longer were they just a race of survivors. No longer were they seen as the lesser species. Humanity had proven that they were more than capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most powerful forces. They were protectors, warriors who could be relied upon when all seemed lost. "I wish we could have done more," Captain Carter said quietly. "We lost a good man today, a man who gave everything for this cause. I hope you remember him too." Lyra nodded solemnly. "Your people's sacrifice will be remembered. We will build a memorial in honor of the bravery you've shown here. You have not only saved us, Captain, you've given us hope." The words were kind, but they didn't bring Captain Carter the peace he sought. He knew that hope was a powerful thing, but it couldn't bring back the fallen soldiers, the comrades who had given everything in battle. Bonner's name would be etched in the annals of history, a hero's legacy that would live on in the hearts of those who survived. But it wasn't enough to fill the void left by his loss. No victory could ever do that. As the conversation came to a close, Lyra stepped back, giving the captain space. "The galaxy owes you and your people much, Captain Carter. If there is ever a time when you need our help, know that we will stand with you. You have earned our trust." Captain Carter gave a small nod, a faint trace of a smile crossing his face. "We'll remember that, Lyra. Thank you for everything." With that, the Zorethian leader turned and left the bridge, leaving the crew to prepare for their departure. The Resolute was ready to leave the orbit of Zoreth, its mission completed. The victory was theirs, but the emotional toll it had taken was clear to everyone aboard. The crew of the Resolute had lost more than they had won. They had lost comrades, friends, and in some cases, family. But they had also gained something invaluable: respect. And in a galaxy where survival was never guaranteed, respect from one's allies could mean the difference between life and death. As the Resolute ascended from the surface of Zoreth, the crew took a moment to look down at the planet below. They had done their job, and they had done it well. The Zorethians were safe, and humanity had proven its strength to the galaxy. But even as they left, Captain Carter couldn't shake the feeling that their fight was far from over. The Vorkans had been defeated, but there were many more dangers lurking in the stars. Humanity's reputation as Deathworlders was just beginning to spread. It was a reputation that came with both fear and admiration, and the crew knew that it would define them for years to come. The Resolute sailed away from Zoreth, leaving behind a grateful but now resilient people. The Zorethians had witnessed humanity's true strength, not just in battle, but in their capacity to make sacrifices for something greater than themselves. Humanity's victory was not just a military one, but a moral one. It was a reminder that no matter how bleak the odds, no matter how powerful the enemy, there was always hope in the fight for survival. The crew of the Resolute could now return to Earth, their mission complete, their legacy secured. But as they looked out into the vast expanse of space, they knew that the galaxy would never be the same, and neither would they. The Zorethians' gratitude would linger in the air for years to come, and the humans would never forget the people they had saved. The battle for Zoreth may have been over, but humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun to take shape. The Resolute drifted through the endless expanse of space, its sleek form cutting through the starlit sky like a beacon of hope. The battle was over, but its echoes would resonate for years to come. Above the planet Zoreth, the stars twinkled brightly, casting a serene glow on the scene below. As the Resolute sailed farther into the unknown, it left behind a planet forever changed by the bravery of the humans who had come to its aid. The Zorethians, standing on the surface of their world, watched in awe as the human warship vanished into the distance. Their people, once trembling in fear, now stood strong, proud of the alliance they had forged with Earth. The Resolute had not only defeated the Vorkans, but had also proven to the galaxy that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. It was a symbol of resilience, of strength, and of an unwavering commitment to protect those who could not protect themselves. As the ship disappeared from view, Lyra, the leader of the Zorathians, stood with her people, her eyes focused on the horizon, where the human warship had just disappeared. She could still hear the faint rumble of the Resolute's engines, a sound that would forever be etched in her memory. It was a reminder of the sacrifice and courage the humans had shown, and it filled her with both admiration and respect. The Zorathians had been saved, but more importantly, they had been given something they had never had before. For the humans, the journey was far from over. Captain Elias Carter, standing on the bridge of the Resolute, looked out into the vastness of space. The stars seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction, a reminder of the uncharted territories that lay ahead. The Resolute had proven itself in battle, but the universe was vast, and there were always new challenges on the horizon. The Voricans had been defeated, but they were just one of many threats humanity would face in the future. The galaxy was full of dangers, and the humans had learned that they could not afford to rest on their laurels. There would always be another enemy, another battle to fight, but they would face it with the same courage and determination that had carried them through the war. Captain Carter's thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Lieutenant Sato, his second-in-command, who stood at the communications console. "Captain, we're receiving a message from Earth," she said, her voice steady, but filled with a sense of urgency. "It's from the High Command." Carter turned to face her, his brow furrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and the stern face of General Matthews appeared. "Captain Carter, it's good to see you alive," the general said, his tone professional but laced with relief. "You've done more than we could have hoped. The Zorathians are grateful, and your actions will not be forgotten." "We couldn't have done it without them, General," Carter replied, his voice calm but with a note of pride. "The Zorathians fought beside us, and together, we turned the tide." Matthews nodded. "True. But don't forget, Captain, that humanity has earned a reputation today, a reputation as protectors, as warriors who will fight for those who cannot defend themselves. That reputation will carry weight, especially as we venture deeper into the galaxy." Carter's gaze hardened as he looked out the window, his thoughts turning to the future. "We've made our mark, General, but the war isn't over. The galaxy is full of threats, and humanity will be at the center of it all. But we won't back down. Not now. Not ever." The general's expression softened. "I know you won't, Captain. We're counting on you. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." The message ended, and Carter turned back to his crew, his eyes scanning the faces of those who had fought beside him. They were more than just soldiers. They were family. Each one of them had risked everything for the survival of their comrades and the Zorathians, and in the end, they had prevailed. But the victory had come at a cost. The loss of Lieutenant Bonner still hung over them like a shadow. His sacrifice had been the spark that ignited the human spirit, but it had also left a void that could never be filled. Still, his memory would live on, a reminder of the price of war and the strength of humanity's resolve. "Prepare for jump to the next sector," Carter ordered, his voice firm and resolute. "We've got a long road ahead of us." The crew moved quickly, preparing the ship for the next phase of their journey. As the Resolute powered up its engines, Carter looked out into the endless expanse of space once more. The stars stretched out before him, vast and untamed. It was a reminder that the universe was full of possibilities, both good and bad. But humanity had proven that it was ready to face whatever came next. They had fought against an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. They had earned their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as defenders of the weak, protectors of those who could not protect themselves. As the Resolute prepared to make the jump into faster-than-light travel, Captain Carter couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The humans had once been a small, insignificant species, lost in the vastness of the universe. But now, they were a force to be reckoned with. Their legacy would be written in the stars, and it would be a legacy of strength, courage, and unwavering determination. The Resolute's engines hummed as it entered the warp tunnel, its silhouette fading into the darkness of space. The crew had made their mark on the galaxy, and now, as they ventured deeper into the unknown, they carried with them the lessons of the past and the promise of a brighter future. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever before. The war wasn't over, but they would face it together. The crew of the Resolute was ready for whatever came next. The future was waiting, and they would meet it head-on, as they always had. Onward, Captain Carter murmured to himself, his eyes locked on the stars. We will face the future, no matter what it holds, together. And with that, the Resolute disappeared into the vast, uncharted expanse of space, its legacy just beginning to unfold.